so you know the project because you're involved with the project. But do you want to maybe talk about whether or not you've used like some of the different places we've talked about, whether it's check cashing or payday loans or pawn shops, and what your experiences have been like?
Mm-hmm. Well, for me, I use the early access availability at Fifth Third Bank, and the way it was set up was, first, when I first got familiar with it, I went into the bank. I was actually depositing my check into the bank, and they said, you know, you're approved. You can do this early access thing. If you ever need money, you know, to get your car fixed or anything, it's available. And I said, fine. But at the time, I didn't need the services. I was working 3 jobs, but one of my jobs was at a after-school program, and the after-school program is out of service during July and August. So when July came, it was like I had lost one of my incomes, but I still had bills and everything to maintain. And I was staying with my cousin, and she had 3 children. So we still had things to maintain and everything, and she didn't work. And my birthday was in July as well. So when my birthday came up, and I was like, well, I'm going to need some money because it's going to be my birthday, and it wouldn't be fair that I've been working so hard and I've been helping other people and I didn't do anything for myself for my birthday. So I had went to go ahead and get the money, but when I got in there, they told me I can get up to like $500 or something. So I went ahead and used the money, and then I didn't take the whole $500 out. I might have took out like $200 or something, but then it was like after my birthday passed, and it was my granny's birthday, and I was like, well, I need to get my granny something, and I can go to the bank and get that money. Then it was my mom's birthday, and I just kept going back, and then over time I eventually ended up using the whole $500, and it was for every time you borrow money, you would have to pay back 10%. So if I borrowed $200, I would have to pay back $20, and I was like, well, that's nothing. I can handle that. But then it was every time I got paid, they would take their money out of my account. Every time that I got paid or whatever, they would take their money, and I would just go ahead, go back in there and take the money back out from their services. I would just do another early access. Since they took my check, I would just take the money back. But after you do that for so long, for like a whole month, or maybe it's a month and a half or something, there's a certain number of days, like 35 days or something, they stop it, and you can't get any more money out, and they're going to continue to take, every time you get money into your account, they're going to pull that money until you pay off this debt that you now owe. And so I was in a worse predicament than what I was before I even started, because then it was like I wasn't getting my check money, I wasn't getting any money, and I didn't have this service that I could go to anymore. So then I was trying to avoid asking my mother for money, but I had to end up asking her anyway because I still had to get back and forth to work and stuff. And for me, that made me frustrated too, because then it was like I was going to work, and every time I got paid, they were taking my check. So then I felt like I was working for nothing. But in reality, I put myself in that situation. But it didn't stop there. So they suspended me too. They told me I couldn't use the services or anything. And then some months had passed, and I was just seeing if it would work, and it did work. And I didn't use it right then, but then I knew that I had the availability. And not only did I have the availability, but I had more than just the $500 credit. Now I went up to $750, so I had more money available. And I still used all of the money again, and I still put myself back in the situation again. And for the second time, then they just took me off of it. I wasn't able to use the services anymore. And that was my experience.
Did you feel like, I guess my question always comes back to like the way it was presented to you up front. Did you feel like it was clear, or did you feel like it was how much you were going to have to pay back? Was that something that seemed like it was clear and direct up front?
Yeah, it was only 10%, but then it was like there were fees after that 35-day period that I told you about. There were fees that got assessed to that bill after those 35 days passed. If you didn't pay the money, then there were some small fees added onto that. But it was nothing that I couldn't find out, but I wasn't interested in finding it out. I was only 19 years old. I didn't care about those things, but when they started taking my checks, then I cared. So it was just like, I don't care right now. Somebody's giving me money, I'll take it. But I didn't care at the moment.
Were you surprised when it went up, like the credit limit went up?
Yeah, then I was like, $750. I'm not even bringing this much money home. Why did they give me $750?
I guess like the other question I asked before too, like if you were in a situation like the circumstances, if they were similar now, do you think that you would
now
something would compel you to do it again? Or
yeah, now no, because I'm learning more, and then even in the past I've always had the kind of mentality that whatever I had, I would just spend it, because I've always had the security of, even if I had my own money and I would spend it. When I was a kid, my mom, my dad, and I had a grandmother, and they would always provide for me. I never wanted for anything. I always had everything that I needed, and I never had to ask anybody for anything either, only those three. And when I was younger, I would get in trouble if I did beg it. I was like really young. One time I was 5, and I had went to the center with my grandmother and grandfather, and they were Muslims, and I was just outside asking everybody for $1, and I had got in trouble for that. So then it was like, you're not supposed to ask people for stuff. So when I got older and I did use those services, it was in situations to where I didn't need something, but I would want something, or I would convince myself that I needed it, and then I didn't want to ask anybody for it. So then I would be like, well, I can just, provide this myself. I have this money here. I can just use this money myself or whatever. I can access it without having to ask anybody. But it's like, now that I'm older, and I know that I don't have my mother or my grandmother or my father to provide for me the way that they did, now I'm able to decipher, what's a necessity and what's a want, and being able to understand that. Because I would do crazy things. Like, I would go in the store and be like, shower gel? Yes, I need shower gel. Who doesn't take baths? We need this. And I would just buy it. But now it's like, you have a bar of soap at home. Do you need shower gel, or do you want shower gel? Like, it would be things that people need, but it wasn't necessarily a necessity. But I was really good with convincing myself. So now I'm even working on putting money into a savings account, because like I said, I've never really saved money. So that's something new for me that I'm trying to do, and I've been doing a really good job with that so far. So I don't think I would ever use it. And then too, for me, something else that I've noticed is like, mentality wise, when I did spend that money, when I did go to the payday lending places, it was like really for stuff that I just really wanted to do. I would work all week, and it's like, well, I'm going to go out and I'm going to go have me a drink, and I would, go buy me an outfit or something. But those things weren't of necessity. And it's like, now I know that, but then to see the people that I associate with, they still do those same things. And I was just sharing with Mika today, I'm a big person on helping people, and I've had to cut back on that, because then too, another reason why I would put myself in those situations, if me and Andrew go somewhere and he's like, well, you can go ahead and get you something to eat, but I don't have any money, so I'm not going to eat. And I'm like, oh no, you can eat, get the best thing on the menu. You can have it, and I'm going to get it for you. But then it's like, I have to understand now, Andrew works just like me, and when Andrew gets his money, whatever he uses that money on and spends it on, whether it be, going go-kart racing or going to the movies, if he spends that money on that, he did it, he had fun, and he enjoyed himself, and he didn't think about, I'm not going to spend this money because I want to go and have something to eat with Jayla. I didn't spend my money on go-kart racing or the movie, so if I want to go out to eat, that's what I have my money available for, so just being able to understand and determine, some people, they don't have money, but for whatever reason they don't have money, that's not my issue, that's not for me to find out, and it sometimes is for things that they enjoy doing. So people can't have their cake and eat it too, and I can't provide that for them. Even if they do feel like they deserve it, I can't be the person to provide that, because I'm not in that situation.
What question do you feel like we should be asking?
I don't know, maybe something about people's childhood or something, because maybe that's where they learn their spending habits from, or that's where their mentality kind of thing comes from, or why is it that they feel that way? Because I would just feel like it was of necessity, you know, to have a name brand purse, to have my hair done, to have my nails done. So those were things that needed to be done for me. They had to be done, but it's like now I understand that they don't. But a question that I wrestle with is, you know, through whose eyes determines this? Because there are a lot of people out there who feel that way or they think that way. Like I know people who take stuff, they'll take money from, you know, they'll get a first of the month check. And it's like that first of the month check is for you and your children to survive on. But they'll take this money and say, well, I have to get my hair done. And it's like, who told you that you have to get your hair done? Why is this a necessity for you? What do you think that this is going to bring or generate? And you know that you have these other needs that still need to be met. And so I don't know if it's maybe something with the music or the TV or maybe, like I said, household upbringing. What is it that makes people feel or think these things, or how do they determine their necessities and wants?
Curious what other people's questions are.
Well, I just wanted to bring up something that you already pretty much mentioned, but in our earlier interview with Julian, he had a question that he wanted us to ask people, and it was what brought you there, and also for us to let the people that we interviewed know that they're not alone. Mm-hmm. Would you have a response to that?
Do you mean like what brought me to those services?
Yeah.
For me, what brought me to those services was just, I never wanted anybody to tell me no, so I was always going to provide for myself. And then I guess because I felt like I deserved things, the people around me, they deserved them as well. And so I would try and make sure that they had the same things as me. And then, like you, to let people know that they're not alone. But then I know everybody's story is different too. So, I mean, we all share something in common, but we all have our, different stories with it as well.
Do you feel like in your use of these services, like, and if this question makes you uncomfortable, then you certainly don't have to answer it, but do you feel like this was a situation where you were at fault, or do you feel like it was a situation where you were being manipulated?
I feel like I was at fault, but I also feel like there was manipulation there, and because I was so young, I didn't understand those things. And it's just like, period, in the real world, there's always hidden agendas, but you have to be mature enough to go out and seek. Just like the young man who spoke before me, he said that he actually did research on different places to see what their interest rates were. Well, I didn't know what an interest rate was, you know what I'm saying? So those kind of things didn't matter to me. They just told me, we'll charge you 10% of that, and I know what 10% is. That's not a lot to me, so I didn't know to go out and fish for this, or what about what happens when that 35 days come up. I didn't go and look for those things. So it was lack of knowledge on my behalf, but then I feel like sometimes services prey on people who they know have lack of knowledge, because I'm sure they had my banking information. They knew how old I was and everything, or even, when a college student goes to college, they get all of these different letters about they can get a credit card or something. But to me, I feel like in those kind of situations, we aren't responsible enough, and we don't know everything that we need to know, and we're not going to go about them in that way. So we shouldn't have those opportunities to us, or there should be other stipulations and circumstances in place too.
So you're saying like more information should be given to people?
And it should be simpler. Like, they use different terms, these big terms and stuff, and everybody doesn't know what those terms mean. So it's just, all I'm thinking is, well, I may need this money for this, or I want this money, or I have to have this. But I'm not thinking about, okay, well, what does that word mean? And I'm not going to spend that time in the bank to ask those things. But maybe if they made it, simpler and just was more upfront with people about how the services are going to go, and letting them know, just like they contact you the next day and tell you that you're eligible for more money, maybe you should be calling me and letting me know by this time, if you don't pay this money back, then this, and this is going to happen or something.
When you walked in originally and to put your check in, and they told you about the opportunity to get a cash advance or have what was called access, they offered that to you without you inquiring about it.
Mm-hmm.
So was it like the bank teller that you were giving your check to?
Mhm.
So do you feel like that bank teller targeted you?
I think she was just doing her job. I think they probably told everybody because it was a new service. Everyone who came through the door, they, you're eligible. We have this new program. I think it was for everyone.
Okay. And then also, and you said you used it the first time to get yourself something for your birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what you bought for your birthday?
Nope. I just took off of work and I bought me some clothes and I just went all around. I went to Cincinnati. I went to some place. I mean, I was in Cincinnati, but I just went all around Cincinnati. I went to some places in Kentucky. I just went all around. It was my first summer ever driving. I had never drove before. I had just got my license. I had a car, so just went around with my friends.
Do you remember anything that you bought specifically with money that you would get from one of these services?
Nope.
Would you do it again?
No.
What kind of things do you do now when you are in a money bind?
I try to, when I get my money, I try to manage up front. I try and pay attention, okay, how many bills do I have to pay for this month? Let me go ahead and set this money aside. As soon as I get paid, I try and take money out of my check and put it into my savings account and go ahead and take care of my bills, so then I can say, well, I have this much money, and if it's $100 or something, then I might spend $30 on the weekend and then use the other $60 or $60 or $70 throughout the week to get gas and to make sure I have lunch for work and stuff, and then I get paid again.
So, you said that you when you heard that the service was available, and you thought, well, it's my birthday coming up, and then it was your granny's birthday, my mom's birthday. If the service hadn't been available, would you still have tried to do something nice for yourself for your birthday, which I think is a perfectly reasonable thing to do? Would you have tried to get money, from some other source to try to do something nice for yourself, or did that kind of put it into your head that, I can use the money for myself?
That put it into my head. I would have never just asked somebody like, hey, do you have some money I can borrow for my birthday? I wouldn't even ask somebody like, will you take me to dinner for my birthday? I just really hate to ask people for stuff, so I wouldn't have asked anybody. The most that would have happened, I probably would have been upset that I didn't do anything for my birthday, and my mom would have said, oh, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't have any money. She would have said, well, here's $50 or something. You can go do something. But I wouldn't have asked anyone.
Do you use credit cards?
I don't have a credit card. All I have is my debit card, and it has a MasterCard logo on it, but I do have it to where it would never overdraft.
And is there a reason? Is there a reason that if you applied for a credit card, is there a reason that you don't use them? You just prefer the debit because you can keep track better, or?
Yeah, I never used the credit card because in the beginning, I don't think I was ever eligible for a credit card, but then when I went through the stuff with the early access thing, that was enough for me to say, I don't even want to get caught up with the credit card because this is already something. It's not a credit card, but it's, another form of lending, and I just don't want to go through that.
I have Fifth Third too, and they've offered me the same service because I have direct deposit. So yeah, I think it's a policy.
And I think that's one of the things too. It's like if you have direct deposit or something. And like I said, I was working 3 jobs, so I would drop a check off, but I was getting direct deposit.
And welcome to the main library.
Well,
Children ages 6 to 12 are